Last summer on our program, we featured an episode on blueberries when we told you about how wonderfully good for us the fruit is because of its very high antioxidant content. Well, you add to that the great taste of the blueberries, and I think most people would agree it's well worth the effort to grow them here in our Oklahoma gardens. Well, today I just want to go over a few of the maintenance chores that the blueberry plants require, including their pruning. February is the time of the year when we prune most all of our fruiting trees and shrubs, and the blueberries are no exception. The pruning is done in the late winter because we want to come in and remove all of the unfavorable growth, so the growth that is left will receive all of the energy. It'll all be channeled in to those portions of the plant that we want to develop. Another thing that we kind of have to be careful of when we're pruning our blueberries this time of the year is to remember that the flower buds that are going to produce this year's blueberry crop are present on the plant right now. They were formed last summer. So that will influence our decision while we're doing some pruning. Now, right over here, I'll show you the difference between the flower buds and the leaf buds. You can see that flower buds they're fatter, they're kind of a little more rounded in shape. The leaf buds are smaller right here on this young stem and probably a little more pointed. So we're going to have to be careful that we don't cut off a lot of those flower buds when we're pruning our shrub here. Well, I've got my hand pruners and my loppers here, so I'm ready to go. And whenever I start pruning pretty much any woody type of plant, one of the rules that I follow first, the first cuts that I make, are to remove that wood that is characterized by the 3 Ds. That is dead, diseased, or damaged. So we're going to start first with any dead wood, just to get this out of the plant. And if we look right down in here, we can see a dead cane coming up in the center. I'm just going to take my loppers, come in here down low, get as low as I can, try not to scratch any of the other canes, and take that one out. And it's not uncommon to have dead wood in our trees and shrub. It's pretty common in nature. As the plants grow, the lower limbs or those inner limbs get shaded out, so they end up dying. So we'll take out all of that dead wood. And if you have a question of whether a stem or a branch is dead or alive, you can do the thumbnail test to see if it is alive. We can just take our thumbnail and come up and scratch gently on the branch, and it's really making a small wound, and we can see that green cambium layer underneath there. That lets us know that the branch is alive. Now on the dead wood, of course, you can scratch and you never end up with anything green. It's just hard and brown pretty much. Well, the second D in our 3 Ds is, of course, the diseased wood. And as I look at this blueberry plant, I don't really see any disease. If we were to see any cankers or any lesions on any of the stems, we would definitely want to cut that out of the plant. And if you do suspect that you have some disease, you will want to take a 10% bleach solution and dip your cutting tools into that bleach solution after every cut, so you don't spread that around to any more of the plant. Well, luckily I don't see any of those dead spots, so then we go on to any damaged wood. And I know that we do have damaged wood on our blueberry shrub because last year when these were loaded down with the blueberries, we had a woodchuck or a raccoon or something come in here and climb up in our plant eating the blueberries, and you can see it broke this limb right here. I think it did a few others in here as well. Well, I'm going to come in with my hand pruners, get as close to this other branch as I can, and cut that away. Try not to leave any kind of a nub. And I'm kind of hiding the cut, going all the way back to that next branch. Make a nice clean cut, so that'll seal over very quickly. And we get these damaged branches, the dead branches out of here because we don't want to leave any doors open for any disease pathogens getting into the plant. The next type of wood that I'm going to remove from our blueberry shrub here are any of the weak branches. Now, if we look at this branch right here, we can see that it does have some dead portions. Still has a few buds, but they're not very many, and they're very small. Well, this is a weak branch, and if we look down here at the base, I think we can see why it is weak. You can see there's an old wound from several years ago. Perhaps a rabbit came in here and did some nibbling on this branch and left this huge scar. It just never has healed over, and the result is a weak branch. So I'm going to come in and cut that out. We don't want any energy going to that part of the plant. We want the energy going to those vigorous, healthy shoots and healthy portions of the plant. So we'll just work this out here. So we've got the dead, the diseased, the damaged, and we're also taking out the weak wood. Once we get all of that wood out, the next step that I like to do is to come in and see if there are any branches that are conflicting or that are rubbing each other. And we've got a good example of it right here. You can see these branches are growing into each other, they're rubbing each other, and they're already starting to create some injuries where they're scraping the bark away. So we want to take out one of those. And I'm going to take this one out because it is growing back toward the center part of the plant. So we take out all the conflicting growth or the rubbing branches, and it's also a good idea to take out any branches that are growing inward toward the interior of the plant. We've got one right here that's growing up in that way. We'll take that one out later on. Right over here we've got a little bit more conflicting growth. We'll probably need to come in, take this one out down at the base of this stem. Now, if you look at some of these branches that I'm talking about removing, you can see that there are just a lot of buds. There are a lot of flower buds on these branches. So what we're going to do this year, we're going to wait until after the plant is finished fruiting and we've come out here and we've harvested all those blueberries. Then we're going to come out and thin these branches. We'll thin them. We'll also kind of head them back a little bit, make the plant a little bit smaller, just kind of some touch-up pruning. And we don't want the blueberry plant to get much taller than this right here either, or we'll have to reach to pick the fruit. So after this fruits, we'll come in, we'll cut these back, and make sure that the branches are facing outwards, they're not conflicting anywhere, and we'll have a better producing area or a more fruitful bearing area to our blueberry shrub. Now, one other thing I want to prune down here is at the base of the plant. You can see we've got a stem right here that's kind of shooting off on its own. We'll come in and take that out, because it's a good idea to have the base of the plant somewhat narrow. That way you can work mulch up toward the base of the plant. You can get in here to pull weeds or spray weeds. So you pretty much want to have a narrow base to your plant. Now, you don't want to cut the plant into a strict V shape, because if you do that, you would eliminate a lot of these sort of cascading branches that have a lot of the flowering and fruiting buds on them. Well, we could do a little bit more thinning to this plant. You really want to have about 6 to 10 healthy stems coming up out of the center of the plant. You want good air circulation, and you don't want them to be too crowded. You want enough light to get into the center of the plant. Again, kind of make sure that the branches are sort of growing toward the outside. Well, if you're planning on buying some blueberries this year, there are a few things that you need to know before you buy those and plant them in your garden, which is going to be coming up real soon. You could plant those in your garden very soon here in Oklahoma. The high bush type blueberries and the southern high bush are the types that perform the best in Oklahoma. And if you buy some of those, even though they are self-fruiting or self-fertile, you'd want to get a couple of varieties so that they will cross-pollinate and you'll have better production in that way. Now, when you plant them in your yard, you want to make sure you select a site that has full sun. Blueberries like an acidic soil. A pH of 4.5 to 5.5 is the range they perform the best in. And also, when you mulch your plants, use a mulching material that will help the soil become more acidic. Like we've got these pine needles here. As they break down, they naturally will cause the soil to be more acidic. Since over-fertilization can actually kill your blueberries, we don't recommend that you fertilize them unless you've had a soil test. And if a soil test shows that you need to do some fertilization, be sure and use a fertilizer that will produce an acidic soil, something like ammonium sulfate or ammonium nitrate. This particular blueberry that we have is a variety called Blue Ray, and it's performed very well for us here in our gardens throughout the year. We've gotten lots of blueberries off this plant. We're going to be planting a few other varieties here in the next day or so. Well, we've got a little bit more pruning to do on this shrub to get it cleaned up, get out some more of these crossing branches, these growing toward the interior part of the plant. We'll get that really cleaned up. Again, if you're going to be planting blueberries this year, you're going to have to be patient. Blueberries shouldn't be allowed to fruit until they've been in the ground about 3 or 4 seasons. So if you have flowers develop, just go out and, I know it's going to be painful, but just rub those flowers off the plant. Let them get their roots established for the first few years. You can check out our fact sheet, Growing Blueberries in the Home Garden, number 6248. It lists a lot of information about what I've just talked about pruning blueberries, their care, and it also lists a lot of varieties that have proven very good here in Oklahoma. You can pick that up at your county office, or you can go to our website, www.oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. You can click on resources and you can see all of our fact sheets.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.